Hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to be tier listing all the books that I read in 2025. Last year I decided to go through each book and say about a sentence or two describing how I felt about it. So this year I thought I'd change it up and I feel like a tier list is a little more fun, and I decided not to go back and actually look at the ratings I gave the book because I find that how you feel about a book directly after reading it and then compared to a couple months removed can sometimes be different, because you can finish a book thinking you loved it and then in a couple months you completely forget everything about it. So I feel like this will give more of a realistic view of how I see these books. So this year I read 16 books and I'm gonna rank them into 6 categories. The top will be love, followed by like, meh, dislike, hate, and DNF. So the first book I read this year was A Man Called Ove. I actually started it last year, so if you go to my video from last year, I kind of talked about it. But for this book, I'd say I'll just give it a like. I had read Anxious People by Fredrik Backman, which is why I picked this book up, and Anxious People is definitely a book that I love. Compared to this book, I wasn't as interested in it. I just feel like mostly the plot and the subject matter was not interesting to me. I still liked it because of the writing. I really love Bachman's writing, so that's the reason why it is still in like, but it wasn't great in my opinion. The next book is The Grown-Up by Gillian Flynn, and this is a shorter book. I started the year wanting to read shorter books so I could get a lot of them off my TBR, so this is one of the ones that I picked. And honestly, if there was a ranking between love and like, I would definitely put it there, but because there isn't, I will put it into the like category. However, I'll put it above A Man Called Ove because I did like it better than that. I just find it kind of difficult to rate a short story like this 5 stars because you really don't get a lot out of it, I suppose, but I will still put it in like because I did like the story, and I've never really cared to read any Gillian Flynn even though she's popular. I feel like maybe I have kind of a bias against it or against her, which I shouldn't, but I do, and I wasn't expecting this kind of writing when I read one of her books, so I was pleasantly surprised. The next book is Carmilla. This is a classic, so of course you know I DNF'd it. I'm sorry, I'm just a classic hater. I honestly forgot that I even read this book, or at least attempted to read it. Going back now, I probably would have just skimmed through it and read the whole thing just to see what happens, but the fact that I don't even remember picking it up means that I don't think I'm really missing much. Next book is The Yellow Wallpaper. This one I'm gonna put in meh. Honestly, after reading it, I don't even think I gave it a rating just because I didn't feel any type of way towards this. People seem to love this. I think the problem was that after the story ended, I didn't get it. Like there was like a reveal type thing because there's like a psychological aspect to it. And I guess for that reveal, I didn't get it. I had to like look up what it meant. So for that, when I finished reading the book, I was kind of like, huh? So for that, I'll put it in meh. And again, this is my list, which means if I'm stupid, it's gonna go in meh, and that's fine. Next is Come Closer by Sara Gran. This was a reread. I originally rated it a 4 point something, but I actually bumped it up to a 5 stars after this reading. And so that means I'm gonna put it in the love category. I don't know what it is about this book. Even now, a year removed from it, I still forget, like, why do I love it so much? I don't know. That's how I felt after the first time I read it, and then I read it again and I was like, wow, I love this. And now I'm a year removed again and I'm like, why do I love it again? So maybe I'm gonna have to reread it to figure that out. I don't know, but I don't know, just something about it. Maybe the writing, I don't know. I just love it, and that's that on that. Next book or poem collection is The Essential Emily Dickinson, and this one has to go in DNF because I DNF'd it. However, I didn't DNF it because I disliked it. I DNF'd it because I got it from the library and then I had to give it back and I didn't finish it in time. So I actually quite liked it. I didn't expect to. Again, I don't love classics, and when it comes to poetry, I don't love classic poetry because again, I'm kind of stupid. But I do remember tabbing a lot of the stories and liking them. Just now I completely forget. What I don't know. I forgot her. So it's not a DNF because I disliked it. I just physically didn't have it anymore, so I could not finish it. Next book is Annihilation, and I am sorry to this man. I forget all about you. Honestly, I remember liking it, but looking back, I really don't remember a thing. And I will still put it in like and not meh, but really, It's gonna go at the bottom of like for now because I'm sorry to this man. I don't know you. I don't know you. Next book is The Test. I actually really like this. Again, I'm gonna put in like, but I'm gonna put it number 2 in like because again, a short story, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it. Saw this recommended as kind of like a Black Mirror episode, which I definitely see. Honestly, maybe I just have bad memory because I don't remember a lot. I really don't remember a lot from this, but I do remember liking it. So that's why I'm gonna put it in like, and yeah. Next book is Penpal. Now, did I technically read this book? No. Did I listen to it via the Creepcast podcast and put it in my reading? Yes, because that episode was like hours long and I listened to the whole thing, and so technically I read the book. I'm gonna put this one in meh, but I'm gonna put it above the yellow wallpaper. Again, do I need to reiterate the point that I forget what the fuck happened? I forget, okay? I could definitely see myself rereading this one or re-listening to it, but at this point, meh. Now the next 3 books, I was actually doing a reading experiment where I read books recommended by ChatGPT based on my favorite books, and I actually filmed like a whole little reading vlog, but then I didn't like how it turned out, so I completely scrapped it. So I'll be able to talk about my thoughts, or my short thoughts, on these 3 books right here. The first one is Eleanor, Oliphant is completely fine, and this was the only book that I actually had on my radar, kind of. It wasn't specifically on my TBR, but I did think about reading it. I did, and I liked it. I am going to put it above A Man Called Ove on this list. It's just one of those simple ones where you're following a girl and she's kind of quirky and kind of doesn't understand social cues, and I feel like definitely in this book Eleanor is very much neurodivergent coded compared to other books like this. I would definitely compare it to Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. I feel like the 2 characters, those 2 lead characters, first person perspectives, are definitely very similar. I also like that this book kind of had a little mystery going through, a question about what happened in her past, so that also added to my personal intrigue, because sometimes a fiction book, kind of leaning literary fiction, can get a little boring for me because I am a plot girly. So having that mystery woven throughout definitely kept my interest. The next book is The Light We Lost, and she's going straight to hate, and that's why this hate category exists. I can tell you right now, this is the only book that's going in it. I rated it 1 star. It's my new least favorite book ever. It was recommended based off Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason, which you could see here because these are all my favorite books. I forgot to say Eleanor Oliphant was recommended based on Anxious People, which is also here. I hate it. I hate it so much. Let me just set the scene for how this book started. These 2 college students, a guy and a girl, go to the roof of their dorm to watch in person 9/11. 9/11 occurring right in front of their faces. They describe people jumping off from the building, because that did happen. And then they think to themselves, we're gonna make out now. And then they make out while people are dying in front of them. I hated this book. I mean, so just like imagine that one guy you had a crush on in high school who's like, he's not great, but he's kind of like the only decent guy there. Now imagine you're still 40 and in love with him, and it's your whole personality. That's basically what this book was. I don't know. I feel like everyone in this book was like a caricature of a person. It was just, these people do not exist.
That motherfucker back there is not real!
And they need to continue to not exist in my brain, because if I give too much brain power to this, I will freak the freak out, because don't even get me started. Next book. This was The Silent Companions, and this is the definition of meh. The definition of meh. After I read this book, which was recommended based off Come Closer by Sara Gran, which I definitely see the similarities, but after reading this book, I was like, I don't like it. I don't dislike it. I have no feelings towards this book. It was boring. Some of it interested me, but literally no thoughts, head empty when it comes to this book. I see why it's not popular. I implore you to not read it. No offense, girly. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to say that, but I'm sure some people like it. Like, I don't think it's a book that is egregiously bad, like I said, but I just think like it's a waste of time to read. I just feel like there are so many better books out there that you could read instead of it. The next book is Stolen Tongues. This one I actually did read, even though they did read it on the Creepcast podcast again, but I actually read it before that because I was trying to look up, or I was watching videos of like, I'm reading the scariest books there are, and this was listed on some of them. I didn't think it was scary. I had no problem reading this alone at night in my bed in the dark. I was not scared, but I still liked it. I think it will go at the bottom of like. It could go into meh, but it wasn't bad. It was a nice little story, some horror elements. I didn't love how it ended. I feel like it ended a little too easily. Like they were fighting this basically like entity monster, and then by the end of the book, I feel like the resolution was kind of like them saying, "Go away. You're not gonna get me." And then the monster said, "Oh no, I'll go now." And I was kind of like, huh? This unbeatable entity, and then one day you're just like, "Go away, I'm serious." And then it left. It just left. I hated that. So that's why it's in like. Next is Mary, An Awakening of Terror. I wrote it down. I have to read that. I DNF'd her. However, I can see myself going back to read this again. I just felt like it started so slow, and I was going through a lot of books where they were starting slow. There are a few books that I technically DNF'd that I just never even put in my story graph because I got like one chapter in. So many books were starting so boring, and I understand like you need exposition, but I've read books that start interesting. These were not those, and this was not that. So I did DNF this one. But I can see myself going back to it because where I DNF'd, I can see that it was starting on the real main plot of the story. So I can see myself jumping back into it and being a little more interested in how the plot is gonna go. Next book is For Your Own Good. Honey, this is going in love. I loved her. This was my only 5-star of the year. And like I said before, your books can start interesting. This book hooked me off the bat. It's right there with my favorite books. I loved her. I love the writing style, the character voice in it. I loved it. There were great twists in it where I was like, whoa. I just enjoyed it. 5 stars. Next book is A Short Stay in Hell. I don't see a lot of people talking about this. I actually only read it because I saw someone on Instagram, a YouTuber, recommend it, and she's not a booktuber. She just reads books sometimes. So I picked it up, and it's a short one. That's also why I read it, and I really liked it. I feel like the concept was so interesting, and what they did with the concept was interesting. I liked the story beats, you know, the plot points that they decided to go with. I thought it was a great book. I'm gonna put it into like because that's the way the cookie crumbles. I think I'll put it above The Test and below The Grown-up. Definitely recommend this book, and since then I have seen one other booktuber read it. I don't remember who it was, and she liked it, I think, if I remember correctly. So go give it a read if it interests you. Next book, The Last House on Needless Street. Now I gave this book a decent rating, and if I was doing this ranking right after I read this book, I may have put it in the like category. However, now I'm putting it in the meh category. At the top of meh, but still meh. It was fine. It did pique my interest. I found myself reading it outside of my normal reading hours. Normally I will read during the commute to work on the bus. I take about a 40-minute bus ride in the morning, and that's usually where I do all my reading. But I didn't find myself reading outside of it, wondering what was gonna happen. So in that sense, I liked the book. I didn't love the ending. They do, I feel like a lot of people talk about this. I'm not gonna go too spoilery, but they do deal with mental illness within it, and I didn't hate how they did that. I also didn't love it either. I'm kind of scorned when it comes to how people will use mental illness in their horror books. It's not always great, so I am a little weary of it, but I didn't think it was bad per se. I definitely read the author's note at the end, and she definitely took care, and she actually cared about the subject matter when she was deciding to use it in her story. so I definitely like that, but I just didn't think it was that great, and that might be just because I also thought I was gonna love it. I wanted this to be a 5-star. This was on my radar for a while and was one of my most anticipated reads for a while, but it just didn't end up being great. Okay, we're on to the second last book, the penultimate, if you will. This is They Never Learn, and I am actually gonna put this into dislike. Again, this is one that I gave a decent rating, but I think part of that is because I saw so many people really like this book, and I just didn't. I don't understand the hype about it. I thought the plot was kind of meh, and practically every single twist or reveal in this book I guessed was going to happen, which is disappointing because when I go into the books, I am very much no thoughts head empty. I don't like trying to guess a twist, and even when I do try to guess a twist, I'm usually wrong because no thoughts head empty. But with this book, I was guessing the twists, which honestly I think as a bar is not good. If I'm guessing the twist, something is wrong because I don't ever guess a twist. I also just thought it wasn't great. Like, it just wasn't great. It was like so and honestly, thinking about this book now, I am starting to kind of dislike it. So because no other books in that category, I will put it into dislike. Now finally, we are on to the last book, which I actually finished yesterday, and that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I liked it. I will put it into like. Now the question is where in like, because this is one of the books that I really have not thought about because I just finished it, so I'm gonna put it into like. I will put it below The Test and above Eleanor, Oliphant. It's completely fine. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was funny. It actually was funny. Like, it actually made me laugh. I love the style of writing, the humor in it. I really did enjoy it. One thing that I do dislike about it, and I dislike about a lot of books, specifically when books are written as a part of a series and they're like written as a part of the series, meaning that it's not just each book has their own insular plot, like a beginning and an end, but where the plot continues throughout each book. I don't like that. I feel like when you're doing a series of books, there should be the A plot, which is completely contained to one book, and then you can have like B and C plots that continue throughout the rest of the books. But if you're going to finish a book basically just in the middle of everything that's going on, I don't like that. I don't like that. I do think I will pick up the next book in the series just because I like the writing style. I am not specifically really interested or caring about what happens next in the story, but because I did like the writing and I did have a lot of difficulty with many books this year, I might as well read the books that I know I'm gonna like, so I will read it. But yeah, it's more of like a part 1 of a book. Like, I didn't feel like this was one book. Kind of like how like Kill Bill has volume 1 and 2, but technically they're like the same, supposed to be the same movie. Like, that's how it was made. That's how I feel like this book was. So that's it. I've rated all 16 books that I read in 2025. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see all the books that I read last year, I also made a video about that, so you can go watch it. I much prefer this video to that video, but hey, you can go watch it still. I'm great at promoting my own videos, as you can see. If you are interested in planning and journaling and Hobonichi, then you can go check out my other videos. Most of my videos on this channel are Hobonichi related, so if you're interested in that, go check out my other videos. And most importantly, I'm stressing this to you. Comment down below if you like my new glasses. I think they're cute. Like the rimless look. My girlfriend said I looked like an Asian auntie, which is actually funny because the day she said that, I was watching an episode of Law & Order SVU, and they had a dad who was from Hong Kong. My girlfriend's also from Hong Kong, and he was wearing these rimless glasses. So she definitely got me there. She gooped me and gagged me, but I refuse to stop wearing them, and I think they're cute. So comment down below if you're on my side, or if you think I look like an old auntie. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful 2025. Did I say I was ranking the books I read in 2025 at the beginning of the video? We'll see about that. I'm just ranting. All that to say, I hope you have a wonderful 2025. Bye!